Welcome to Inside the Burrow. My name is Jabe Kelly, joined by JJ and Kevin on the back on the show. Kevin, it's been a while. How you doing, sir?
It has been a while. I'm excited to talk about basketball and, hopefully get back to winning ways this week after we don't want to discuss the Illinois game and
Yeah.
whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, that was rough, Kevin. All right, Kevin. JJ and I had to break that down last week. We had to go in raw because it was the day after, so those emotions were real in the moment. I'm actually wearing a shirt from the city where we played in, so we only dropped 3 spots in the rankings, which it could be worse.
Well,
it could have been a lot worse.
let's also be clear. It is incredibly hard to win a basketball game when the other team has two guys who legitimately do not miss a shot, it feels like, for the entire second half.
Until their next game that they play.
Oh, yeah, until their next game where they miss every shot. But Marcus
Unbelievable.
Domasek, or whatever the one
Damascus.
guard's name was, he was missing, or he was hitting turnaround jumpers with like Giancarlo Rosado in his face. At some point, you're just like, all right, man, you know what? You're going to make everything, and we're just going to have to deal with it. So whatever.
Yeah. JJ, how you doing, young man?
Doing great. Gonna get back on terms after Illinois' very fluky performance last week. I mean, they had a complete miracle with 2 guys combining for 66 points, and Shannon and Damask. And, credit to them. They exploited some weaknesses in the defensive side of the ball. But, we just got unlucky, and that's going to happen in some games. So we got to get back on track, and it's crucial to win these next 2 games so you could be inside that, top 12, top 13 for the number 1 team in the country.
Man, JJ, you're sounding absolutely crisp with that new microphone right now, bud. And I know this is your more exciting time of the season talking about basketball. So it's good that you got that microphone ready for the thick of things with basketball season. And we start today with we got 2 games coming up in this week. By a week, I mean till we record this. Actually, it is this week. A game tonight against FIU. Recording this a little earlier so we can get this up for you guys. And then St. Bonaventure on Saturday. But FIU, a team that FAU is very familiar with after playing them for so many years. In Conference USA, we have left them behind in the conference, and the rest of the conference this year so far is leaving FIU behind. They're currently bottom of Conference USA at 3-7. But Kevin, even though they've struggled this year, you're playing against a team that, at the very least, you're pretty familiar with. So what kind of threats do you expect to see from FIU tonight?
Yeah, this isn't a good basketball team, but it is equally a dangerous basketball team, which is sort of one of those positions that I guess if you're FAU, you really don't want to be playing a team like this because, man, they've started this season off incredibly poorly. Record-wise, I think they've won maybe 3 games total.
Yeah.
And for the most part, like, this is a team that's probably not going to win a lot of games this year. But to that point, they also don't have much to lose, and they've given teams fits. Like Miami had to go down to the final 2 minutes to beat them at home. And, it really starts with Arturo Dean, the guard, who is, one of the better players in mid-major basketball. And if he was playing on a team that wasn't as bad as FIU was, and I think FIU's like 230th in Ken Pom, like he would be sitting in a lot better position nationally in terms of recognition. But he's a guy who could score with the best of them. And if FAU isn't ready for him, he's a guy who can drop 30 on you and you wouldn't be shocked afterwards. So, like, he's the guy you have to account for. But, like, let's also be clear, this is still record removed from this situation. This is still a pretty solid, dangerous FIU team that's, at least I think for the early parts of this game, going to give FAU some fits.
Yeah, this is an FIU team that they suffered a lot of losses from the team last year, losing 2 of their top 3 scorers. And the one of the top 3 that is remaining is Arturo Dean that Kevin was just talking about. He is leading them in virtually every statistical category: points, rebounds, assists, steals. You really have a true do-it-all player for this FIU team. And he hasn't gotten a lot of help behind him with only one other double-digit scorer on the team with Deshaun Gittins. So, JJ, how do you think FAU fares going against a team that is very contrast to what we see with FAU? We can spread the ball around, give the ball to anybody. Everybody on the team can find a shot. How do you think this will look tonight with a team in FIU that just goes almost entirely through one player?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. Arturo Dean is the guy for FIU. He's going to get the ball in the most important situations. So it's going to definitely be different because they have one guy who can just completely take over the game. Like FAU doesn't have that. I mean, Vlad is that guy, but he can't make a three. He can't make a huge comeback. This Arturo Dean guy is special, and he's going to make some plays. With that being said, FIU does not look very good. I mean, their record is definitely, it goes without being said, their record is definitely worse than how good they are. They went into Miami, not really that it's a road game because both teams are in Miami, but they played Miami and lost by 6 to a 7-2 Miami team, I believe. They are 236 in the Ken Palm. They're behind teams like Texas Southern, who is 0-7. Bellarmine, who's 3-7. So definitely not, great. I believe there's 300th in offensive efficiency. So they're not the best at scoring the ball, but you never know. I mean, this is a rivalry game. This is the best rivalry in South Florida. So you never know what could happen.
This is a team that you're not able to throw around a lot of size. Their top 4 scorers are all at 200 pounds or below. They are really quick. They like to move the ball up court quickly, and try to catch you off guard because when they settle into their offense, there's not a lot of options. They don't like playing in the half court as they prefer to push off of the break. But the size advantage certainly goes the way of FAU. I mean, you look at Arturo Dean, below 6 foot, 5'11", 163 pounds. You're not getting a lot of a threat from him underneath, but beyond the perimeter, 39% from 3. They have a few guys on their team that can shoot. Jonathan Ibar, 38% from 3, and Javante Hawkins, 36% from 3. So while they're undersized, they do know where they need to find a lot of points, which is in transition and from the perimeter. It's a hard time finding a way for them to stay in this game with all the differences that FAU have in so many different ways that FAU can win. What type of game do you expect to see out of FAU tonight, Kevin, being that this team and FIU can only win one particular way?
I think this is the game where John L. Davis and Elijah Martin finally get going because I think both of them have struggled this year comparatively to last year and the expectations that they had placed on them. And I don't know what the direct cause is for that. And I'm not here to speculate that it's a certain thing, but they just haven't looked the same. And now, luckily for FAU, they've had other guys who are able to come in and provide that scoring that they had last year from Martin and Davis. But, FIU has one guy who is 7 foot tall, and coincidentally, most of their most of their productive lineups come with him on the floor, which I don't think is a coincidence. Like when you have a guy who is 7 foot tall, he's going to provide the most productive.
7-1.
Yeah, I think he's listed as 7-1. He's going to provide the most productive lineups for you. So I think Vlad might get taken out of this game a little bit because he hasn't had to play a guy with that kind of size often, and his real matchup breaker is the fact that he's taller than everyone else. And he is still a gifted post player. And this is not me saying I know this might get clipped later, me saying that, he's screwed tonight. He's not screwed tonight. He's still going to have a really good game, but comparatively to some of these other games, I don't think he's going for the 20-point double-double. I think it's going to be Elijah Martin and John L. Davis who get going.
I do fear a little bit for Vlad to get in some sort of foul trouble because with Seth Pinky with FIU, he does have that height advantage, or he cancels out the height advantage, I guess I should say, with Vlad Golden. But just like the rest of those guys on the team, that the weight is just not there. So he's 7 foot tall, but he's barely over 200 pounds. But what that is going to require is for Vlad to be a lot more on top of his game in terms of just moving his feet and staying in the right position. We've seen him last few games, the foul trouble, especially last time against Illinois, the difference between how this FAU team is able to operate with him on the floor versus without. So this is a game that we have to see him stay on the floor. The size advantage is not quite there. And Pinckney, what he's able to do, he can't put the ball on the floor. We saw it last year against FAU down there. They gave us a really rough test down in Miami, and he was somebody that he posed a little bit of a threat against us and where they held the game for the majority of the game. But JJ, you're thinking it's going to be a lot on Janelle and Elijah tonight?
I don't know. I really like Vlad in this game. I think, I don't know. I mean, underdog has them at 14.5 over under. I'm taking the over all day on that. I called my uncle up, told him bet $1 million on that. I mean, that's
Oh my
really free
gosh.
for Vlad. He's gonna have 20 points. I don't know about Elijah in this game. I'm just not feeling it really. I think Elijah does really well. I mean, he's the best at driving on the team. He's the best at getting to the hoop. But FIU has a center and a power forward who are both 6'9". So they're gonna, if they play a 3-2 zone and have those two, guarding the perimeter, and I don't think Elijah can get inside. I think we're gonna win this game from either Vlad Golden getting inside or John L. Davis shooting some nice threes. I think John L. Davis is gonna have 25 points tonight, and John L. Davis is the guy tonight. I don't know about Elijah Martin. I mean, they both had some up and downs this season. Like, they've both done great. Like that weekend in Orlando during Thanksgiving, I mean, Elijah was spectacular. He was, doing everything he could. He 6 threes against Texas A&M. And John Nell, he had 25 against Charleston and or 26, and he was really getting to the hoop against Illinois. He had a really good game. So John Nell's going to keep that consistency up. Elijah's such a good player. I just don't know if this is the game due to the fact that FIU has two guys who are 6'9", and they're going to be guarding the basket and the perimeter.
So interestingly, real quick, credit to CBB Analytics. They provide, on-off ratings, net ratings, plus-minus ratings, those kind of things. And most of FIU's good lineups, they are a plus 23 when Seth Pinckney's on the floor. And I think the rest of their lineups are like a negative in terms of points for and points against. So they are effectively outscoring teams by 23 points when Seth Pinckney's on the floor. The problem is he just doesn't play that much, right? Like, he's not going to be a guy who gives you 30 minutes a game or something. So, like, you're going to have to.
It's not Seth Pinckney. You have Jonathan Ibar, who's the guy who's second leading in minutes on the team. He's 6'9". He's averaging 10 points a game, and you have another 6'5" guy who's averaging 16 minutes per game, and in Mohamed Sonago. So those are two guys. Jonathan Iber is the third guy in leading minutes behind Dashton Giddens, who's getting 31, Arturo Dean getting 29, and he's getting 26 minutes a game. So, and he's 6'9". So they have two guys 6'9" or over who are playing 25 plus minutes per game. And I mean, I understand what you're saying with Seth Pinckney, but he's averaging 12 minutes a game, and compared to two guys who are averaging 25 plus, and one 6'10" and one is 6'9".
I'm going to say this: Ibar, when they take Ibar on or when they put Ibar on the floor without Pinckney, those lineups are not incredibly effective defensively. And I think the one lineup that they have where it's Pinckney and not Ibar, or Ibar not Pinckney, excuse me, they're like a +2, and they're pretty poor defensively in terms of metrics. Like, they can score offensively with those guys, but the size is only so much of a factor on defense for them.
I mean, but Ibar has been so good. He's averaging 2 steals a game, 0.5 blocks a game. He's a great defender as well, and his numbers are better than Pinckney. I mean, Pinckney is averaging 1 block and 0.1 steals per game, just based off stats. I watched the game against Miami, and Ibar had 2 blocks, two very key blocks in that game against Miami, or maybe it was 1. Yeah, I think it was 1 looking at the stats, but they're both good players. It's just Pinckney only gets 12 minutes a game.
Yeah, they're both good players, and it seems like they found something right last time that they played us in terms of defensively. Nobody really had a hot game, and FAU didn't really have a strong footing into the game until around the 3-minute mark left to go in the game. Janelle was a leading scorer, 17 points, but he was 6 of 13. Elijah, Nick Boyd, and Michael Forrest all were tied with 12 points. So there wasn't that one guy that took over, and they were really defensively sound. last time we played them in Miami. However, the time we played them in Boca last year, it was a blowout. So is that something that we expect to see again this time? We always start with Kevin because we already know where JJ is going to go. So we're going to start with Kevin like usual. So Kevin, give us your score prediction for the game tonight.
FAU wins this one pretty easily. I'm not concerned at all about FAU in this game. Give me FAU by high double digits, like 20 points. I feel pretty confident saying FAU can win this game comfortably.
JJ?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, this is a rivalry game. And no matter how bad FIU is, this is their Super Bowl. They're playing a top 15 team, like against their rival, against their biggest rival. Maybe Miami is. I don't know. I think FAU is FIU's biggest rival.
It is.
This is their game. This is the game they had marked on their schedule, this game and Miami. And FIU could be very good. I do think, I mean, it depends really, Nick Boyd. I would like to see Nick Boyd on the court. But FIU caught FAU at the worst possible time. You are playing a FAU team with a fire lit inside of them after losing a game to Illinois. You're playing a team who is determined to literally beat the brakes out of you and just destroy this FIU team. I mean, losing is unacceptable for this game. You have to win this game. Like, this can't be another Bryant game. You can't be looking ahead to Arizona or St. Bonaventure. I do think FAU wins this game. I'm going to go 76-51.
Yeah, I'm going to follow in a very similar nature. I think we come out a little sharp. We had 3 games in very quick succession last time we played out, and I think that third game against Illinois, being the third game in like, what was it, 5 days or something like that, you start to see the toll, especially having to travel up to New York. Especially at the end of that game, we saw some costly turnovers, some costly questionable shots. So I think with this week that they've gotten off, definitely help out and see a fresh performance at home. I'm going to go with FAU 77, FIU 53. That's the first game of this week. And then on Saturday, this one being up on the road, up in Massachusetts, playing against the St. Bonaventure Bonnies, team that is also 7-2 on the season, in a very competitive Athletic 10 conference with a lot of teams that have had sharp starts to the season. It's not one of those conferences you expect to see multiple teams come from, but we've seen teams like Dayton, George Washington make some upsets. Davidson. There's a lot of common names in this conference. VCU, Richmond. Like, there's a lot of teams in here that have made some serious upsets once it's came to conference or to the tournament time. So, gentlemen, we'll start with Kevin again. What do you know about this St. Bonaventure team?
This St. Bonaventure team is incredibly gifted offensively, and when they get going offensively, they're a threat. I think that their 2 losses have been sort of weird, with Auburn being that high major team that you're sort of predicted to lose to, and they kind of got the brakes beaten off them, and then Canisius really early in the season. I don't know how much weight we put in that Canisius game because that was like their 3rd game in the season, and since those 2 losses, they have looked incredibly good offensively. This is a team that can beat you in different ways with different scorers, and they're not like FIU, a one-man show with a bunch of role players around them. This is a team that can beat you in different ways, and they can shoot the ball well, they can drive on you. And so, like, I think this game is probably a little bit closer than the FIU game. FAU is still going to be favored pretty highly, but this is a good St. Bonaventure team, and this is a team that, like, if the Atlantic 10 didn't have 3 or 4 teams that were really dang good, would probably be favorites for the NCAA tournament, but they might just get left by the wayside because it's almost unlikely that this is more than a potential 2-bid league, with the A10 this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent to go around that conference, and a lot of talent on this team. 5 scorers on the team averaging above 9 points per ball game, starting with Mika Adams-Woods. JJ, you go from what we're going to see tonight with FIU. what do you think FAU is going to have to look at differently for a team like St. Bonaventure on Sunday that is going to be able to spread the ball out a lot more than FIU will tonight?
Yeah, so this St. Bonaventure's team is better than FIU. I mean, they're first in the A10 in terms of record at being 7-2. And Mika Adams was, as you mentioned, had 48 points last week. He had 25 points in that, 48 combined points, 23 against SIE and 25 against NIA. And then against Buffalo, he had 20. He's such a good three-point shooter. He is shooting over 50% from three. He's 6'3", 180 guy. He has that height advantage on Greenlee if he goes up on that one-on-one matchup. And he reminds me of a lot of Marquise Noel, the guy on Kansas State. He's someone who can take over this game. Now, what does FAU struggle against? Small forwards. In St. Bonaventure's has two small forwards / power forwards. First in Chad Venning, 14 points, 4 rebounds per game. He's 6'10", and he's just someone that is going to get inside the perimeter and make baskets. I mean, he's so good in all fashions of the game. And like,
You good there, JJ?
sorry, I cut off there for 1 second, but he's someone who is just very, very good. So Chad Venning is definitely someone that you have to look out for. Another guy you really have to look out for is another small forward in Asa Ismanovic. He's a very, very quality player. He's 6'2". He's a small forward, and he averages 6 rebounds a game. So he's a great player as well. It's going to be definitely hard to play against St. Bonaventure's and FIU because this team has small forwards and power forwards, and we don't have that guy. I mean, Trey Carroll and Brennan Laurier, you could call them a 3 and a 4 guy, but they can't guard like a 6'10" guy in Chad Venning who's putting up 14 points a game. So that's a very bad matchup. And this is a trap game. I mean, it checks all the boxes for a trap game. And it's a neutral site, but it's technically on the road because it's in Massachusetts. And that's like an hour. The arena is like an hour away from St. Bonaventure's. So there's definitely going to be some fans showing up because that's their biggest game of the year. And FAU could definitely be looking ahead in this game as well. I mean, it is a trap game against a really good St. Bonaventure's team, which I label on the road, even though it's technically not on the road. So excited for this game on Saturday.
What I also like about the St. Bonaventure team is the different roles. You see pretty clearly defined roles down this roster. Mika Adams Woods is the best player and best overall player. Does a lot of his work from the perimeter. 51% from three, also leads the team in assists. But you go right behind him, and Chad Venning is a lot more physical player. I don't believe he's even shot a three-pointer so far this season. You look even down the roster, you don't look at points. You look at somebody like Barry Evans, who is a very physical player, 6'8", 220 pounds, leads the team in rebounding, leads the team in steals. So you got Chad Venning, who also leads the team in blocks. So you have so many different options that you can find. You can find shooters, you can find physicality, you can find a defensive first approach for some of these guys. There are so many different things that St. Bonaventure does well, and it's because of the plethora of talent they have at different positions and the versatility that they have at different positions anytime they pull up on the court. So with all that being said, or go ahead, Kevin.
The interesting thing about St. Bonaventure is that most of their possessions are going through Chad Venning, the second player you mentioned, and I think his usage rate, which is just basically how many times he's like given the ball on a possession, is like 99th percentile in the nation. I mean, this offense basically flows through Chad Venning. And so like he is sort of the guy who, like, if you want to take away a player from this team, it feels like he's probably the guy to do it, because if a lot of the offense is going through him, it feels like, and this is watching very little of St. Bonaventure this year, and I will likely watch a little bit more before Saturday, but like feels like a team that like most of their sets and most of their plays go through the big men, and they're trying to get it inside to him. So it's interesting. This is a game that doesn't really worry me for FAU, but I think could get a little scary at points.
I don't know. It does worry me a little bit. A team that is kind of tucked away in the Atlantic 10, excuse me, that you don't really think about, kind of outside, out of mind, that conference is. But there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent on this team. And like JJ says, I think it's a good opportunity for a trap game. You're on the road. You got Arizona you're staring down the barrel of next week, number 1 team in the country. You want to be fully 100% prepared for that you can see guys on the team looking a little further ahead. But with that being said, we already gave our prediction for the FIU game. I imagine this one, gentlemen, will be a little tighter than that FIU game. This time we'll start with JJ. JJ, how do you think the St. Bonaventure game is going to go?
So FAU should win this game comfortably by 15 to 20 points. But that's not going to happen. FAU is going to destroy the St. Bonaventure's Bonnies, and it's not going to be close. FAU with John O. Davis is going to have 30 points plus in this game. St. Bonaventure's is going to be locked up. Chad Benning's not going to go anywhere. He's not just baby food for Vlad Golden. He's going to get destroyed. Give me FAU 75 to St. Bonaventure's 50.
Okay. I kind of expected that from JJ.
I think Kevin. We all did.
Kevin, where are we going?
I am not as confident as JJ appears to be, and I don't know if I've ever been as confident as JJ appears
I don't think
to be
I have either.
These episodes. I think FAU wins this game. Let's be clear. Like, I think FAU wins this game. I think Ken Baum has it as like an 8-point game in favor of FAU. I think they win the game by double digits. I think they win this game 73 to 62. So make that 11 points in favor of FAU.
This game does scare me a little bit more, I guess, than it does for you guys, as I think this is just the clearest example of a trap game, a team that plays really good fundamental basketball, that has very clear defined roles, that you have so many guys and do so many different things. And also defensively, we didn't even really talk about how well they are on the defensive end of things. They haven't allowed more than 70 points since the Auburn game, which was their 4th game of the season. And the only 2 times they've allowed above 70 points so far this season were in the 2 losses between Canisius and Auburn. This is obviously their best team that they're going to play this season, if I'm not mistaken. We're certainly the best team they're going to be playing this season. So, like JJ was talking about with the FIU game, this is kind of their Super Bowl. This is their opportunity to get a quality win that, let's say they finish the season with 5 losses but lose a championship game. They can point to the resume that they had in beating FAU and potentially getting them an automatic bid, or getting them in without the automatic bid, rather. I still have FAU winning, but I think this is going to be a tricky game for FAU. I think I'm going to have St. Bonaventure cover, actually. I'm going to go FAU 72, St. Bonaventure 66, in just like a gritty, grindy game.
And Jacob, St. Bonaventure's can win this game. Like, this game, and this may seem very like I know you viewers are very much going to disagree with me, but St. Bonaventure's, I think they can win this game. I think they have more than a 35% chance to win this game. And I'm more scared about St. Bonaventure's than Arizona. But, I am. This is the most trap game. Like, this is the definition of a trap game. You're not at home. You're playing a St. Bonaventure's team with a huge fan base against a really good player in Mika Adams-Woods and Chad Venning. So, FAU is either, in my opinion, they're either going to win this game by like 25 points or they're going to lose it. And I'm more worried about this game than Arizona. I was on a St. Bonaventure's podcast yesterday, and it gave me a lot of confidence because they were very worried, and they thought this would be a 20-plus point blowout for FAU. So that gave me confidence. But going into that, I think FAU could definitely lose this game. And I know it's very much a stretch, but they have more than a 35% chance to lose this game.
It's going to be a lot more of a competitive game, I feel like, than the game tonight is. It still could be a very competitive game tonight with the rivalry that you have with FIU, with the familiarity you have with this team, and just that one guy that can take over on FIU.
And Jacob, quick stat here before we end it off. FAU's basketball program was introduced in 1991. St. Bonaventure's first ever tournament appearance, 1991.
I guess there's a little bit of something there. Yeah, JJ, how old were you in 1991? So it doesn't matter. Nobody here on this podcast was alive. None of us were.
I think you're racking JJ's brain a little bit too much for.
He's like negative 13, I think. Or no, probably more than that. Probably negative 20.
Negative 19, 2010. Yeah.
You were born in 2010?
Yeah, but
oh boy.
The last time these two teams played was in the Boca Raton Mega Bowl 4 years ago. FAU was up 14 points and they blew the lead. St. Bonaventures ended up winning this game by 7 points.
Well, that's something to look forward to on Saturday. Obviously, the game tonight against FIU. First priority, that's going to be at 7 o'clock tonight. And then the game against St. Bonaventure is 4 o'clock. The game tonight against FIU, I believe, is on ESPN Plus, maybe?
Yeah, ESPN Plus.
And then the game on Saturday on ESPNU. Till then, you can expect a lot of coverage revolving around those two games. The next time you'll hear from us will be next Wednesday. So let us know your score predictions for both games down below in the comments. While down there, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. Also get down in the comments. Let us anything else, any other thoughts you have revolving FAU. If you'd like more FAU content, go over to FAUowlsnest.com to see some written content and subscribe over here as we put out videos almost on the daily. But that is it for us. Jabe Kelly, JJ Metz, Kevin Fielder. We appreciate you guys watching very much. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Go Owls.